Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. You're tuned in to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
I have received so many pleasures, so many very good to look at, whether you own them or not. It's a pleasure just to look at such presents. Why, I have never witnessed so many presents. I think I have to build me a house for presents. This shows what Allah can do for you and me if we believe in Him.
There is nothing that we could not accomplish in the name of God. You know what your problem is? You don't have even a worthy goal to strive after. I'm going to give you an assignment today. Here's an assignment. Is there something you want? Do you want something? Something that you want, but you have not been able to get it? Huh? Close your eyes. Do you see it? Whatever it is that you want, first envision it. You got the picture. Do you see it? All right, now the question is, you have to claim what you see. I claim this. I claim it. I believe with all my heart in the name of God that I'll bring what is in my imagination into reality. We're going to bring it back like it never was. I see in the dome the name Allah written in Arabic. But I can't just dream. I got to go to work. How do you bring it into concrete reality? First, without faith, you can't work the vision.
Peace and blessings, family. Welcome to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks. And we are on episode 8 of the proper handling of people. How we doing? How's everybody doing this morning? Welcome to you all. Wow, a lot of y'all woke up early this morning. Okay, that's beautiful. Um, wow, y'all have a good week. I got me some chai tea this morning. Um, it's daylight savings starting tomorrow. I I still don't understand it. They said it was for the farmers when they originally created daylight savings time, so that the farmers would have more daylight. It's just another idea of us, and I'm saying us because we've gotten to the point as a people as well where we mimic these behaviors where we just go, okay, we're just going to manipulate people's lives. Do you know how you're changing people's rhythms and their patterns and their nervous systems just by playing with the time? Now, time zones I get, right? Because you got to quantify the difference based on how far away we are from the sun. Because right now it's dark here in Chicago. It might be light somewhere else. Could be daytime here and nighttime somewhere else. That I get. But the daylight savings thing is just, to me, it's just a narcissistic mindset going, let's just change the time so the farmers have more time. And I love farmers. Don't get me wrong. Y'all know I had Brother Ridgely on the Mind of an Entrepreneur show 2 weeks ago, but I just don't understand it. Here's another thing I don't understand. And you all hear me talking about how the proper handling of people is a lost art. It's gone out the window. We just have a reckless disregard for human life. Did y'all hear about what's going on in Flint again? I feel like more of us who have a platform need to be more outraged about these types of issues. If you're a person of influence, if you're an influencer, if you're somebody of means, what's up with the water crisis? Flint, Michigan water crisis, Mississippi water crisis, and all these other crises that are going on, we don't say nothing about. We use our platforms to talk about each other, to play games, talk about gossip. But what about the real issues? What about the real? So I want to play something just to show you all how we're dealing with a complete reckless disregard for human life, for people, and this type of more detailed, proper handling of people that we're talking about becomes scope creep, and it starts to look like stuff like this, murdering and poisoning. But let me show y'all this. I'm gonna remove myself from the screen.
Flint, talking to folks just learning no one will face charges as the result of the Flint water crisis.
Coming after the Michigan Supreme Court ruling shut down basically any legal road moving forward. Our consumer investigator, Hank Winchester, live tonight from Flint. What did you hear today, Hank?
You talk to the people here in the city of Flint, you understand why they are angry. It's hard for many to believe after everything that happened, no one will be held legally responsible for poisoning the people of the city. What do you think? When you learn that people are not going to be held legally responsible for what happened here, what do you think?
Well, I have only one thing to say, I thought no one was above the law, but apparently I thought wrong.
Carolyn is a lifelong resident of Flint. She's disappointed, angered that no one will likely face any criminal charges for the water crisis in her community, a crisis that deeply impacted her own life.
I have lead in my system, 3%, and my doctor did a test and found it. And I've had some health problems.
Do you drink the water now, even though they say they've changed a lot of the pipes? Do you trust it or no?
I do not trust it. I don't drink it.
Karen Weaver was mayor of Flint at the height of the crisis.
You know what? I hate to tell you what I thought because
No, tell me. It's okay.
because I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
And that's the bad part, is to not be surprised by what has happened. because we've been seeing it unfold, and every step of the way has turned out where no one's being held accountable for what happened in the city of Flint. And it's angering.
Weaver says although some work has been done in the city to replace lead service lines, many in this community have lost faith. They no longer trust government. They no longer trust the water. And she says at this point, she doesn't blame them.
When you see these kinds of things happen, you know, it makes you lose hope, and it makes you lose trust.
While the legal case essentially has come to an end, there is a financial payout many are still waiting for here in this community. That money directly going to those impacted, and also working to establish programs to help those that need it the most here in Flint. I'm Hank Winchester. Help me, Hank, Local 4.
All right, Hank. Michigan's Attorney General Dana Nessel says she is very disappointed in the Supreme Court's decision. We've posted her entire statement on clickondetroit.com.
Okay. I don't know, sister, who was the former mayor of Flint. And I don't know how long maybe she was sounding the alarm, because it's the responsibility of the municipality to be monitoring the water system, or to monitor the operators that they have in charge of the water system, to say something about infrastructure. So I don't know. I don't know her. So I haven't been following her. I just feel like they just way too calm. You mean to tell me they took that all the way to the Supreme Court? Where's the appeal? But it's just the improper handling of people. I had a quote that I put up here, and I just thought about this in relation to what's going on there. See, your nervous system will naturally feel calm around people with pure intentions and authentic energy. What do you think is happening to the nervous systems of the people in Flint, in Mississippi, and other places where you see this type of blatant disregard for human health and human life happening as it relates to the water system? Now, this happens systemically in a whole bunch of other areas, but right now I'm specifically talking about this water crisis. Like, what? I hear you, Sister Mayor. I hear you. But what were you doing as mayor to monitor this? And did you sound the alarm earlier? I have some experience in dealing with water pipelines. I was in charge of a big project regarding a water pipeline here in Chicago. And what I do know is that most municipalities have some kind of testing process in place. In many cases, it's automated, where they can go up to the tanks and they can check the chemical levels and pH levels in the water. Many of them have a control room, either in the municipal water department or with the vendor, whether it's, I don't know who all, I'm not going to name any, but whoever the vendors are at the time who's monitoring that. You know when the water levels are at a dangerous level. And in this case, you could smell it and see it. So I see the calmness, but I'm asking, what are we doing here? And so the rest of us as a community, I want to ask us to first pray for the people of Flint and the people of Mississippi and all these other areas where this water crisis has come up. But also, let's begin to do our part. When you see stories like this, spread the word, repost it, tell somebody, call somebody, create some level of outrage. Call your local press and ask them to cover it. See, a lot of times we have this old school thing where you don't scold people in public, but some people need to be busted out publicly so that they know That ain't nobody playing with them. But these people running for office, they get to kind of hide back and lay back and hide behind the sycamore tree, if you will, and don't say anything. And then it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says not guilty. But if they were shamed, Biden, where you at, Biden? You got a lot of reparations to be, a lot of repenting you need to do for that crime bill you put together. Where's your outrage on this Flint thing? Get him some money. If Flint is saying, or Mississippi and these areas are saying, we don't have the infrastructure to keep the water safe, which is a public safety issue, then give them some money to fix it. You're better off letting a private company own it and then holding them accountable. But give them some money to fix it. You sending money everywhere else? Why don't you just take a look at some of the infrastructure issues within the United States of America that are threatening public safety, and have some regard for human life and fix it. This is it's egregious to me. And it's a clear sign that each and every one of us as individuals need to do a better job at having a higher regard for human life. And we're going to talk about that in episode 8 today. But I just had to say something about that because I seen that and I just said, what is wrong with us? Well, I know what's wrong with us. And we need some divine intervention. Without that, we're in trouble. Real trouble. So you should have some business people, some celebrities, some people there in Flint and Michigan, from Michigan, who can go in and figure out what is it going to cost to get this infrastructure right, to save these people in this city. See, we so busy as Black people, excuse me, and as Americans, letting somebody else do it. Get somebody else to do it. That's our new thing. Oh, that ain't about me. Get somebody else to preserve our history. Get somebody else to fix our water. Get somebody else. These people paying taxes. But everything is get somebody else. We'll call each other up on the phone and talk about it. We'll text about it. But we don't even want to mess up our social media page by texting an important news story because we're worried about how it's going to look on our page or the algorithm. Y'all know me, I'll post it. But this kind of disregard for human life is ridiculous, and it's very stressful. Very, very stressful. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. Sister Sandra said, wow, I thought it was corrected. You should call your niece. Sister Sandra said her niece lives there. Call your niece and talk to her about it. See what you can do to help. What kind? I don't know. We use social media all the time. What about crowdsourcing? We crowdsource when we need a couple extra dollars to bury somebody. What about a couple extra dollars to help somebody live? Something like that. Lamont said he never spoke about how he locked us away and threw away the key. Right. Oh, yeah. You talking about, yeah, now we see how important the Supreme Court is to the country's legal system. It's bought and paid for. Well, at least its majority. I guess it's bought and paid for, but there should be some kind of pressure we can put on these people, because what's happening now is everybody want to save face. Everybody's so phony and so fake. And maybe if you threaten to bust them out, then they'll do something about certain things. But if they know they can hide and ain't nobody going to say nothing, they figure, oh, it's a small little town, it's okay. What about re-election? Who's the governor? I'm not seeing no outrage over this, and it's ridiculous to me. So I think as individuals, we need to be working on doing something about this kind of stuff. Okay, shifting gears. Sunday, we were planning to have a show, Sajdah House and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Table Talks and the NOI Archives. We're going to have a show about the impact of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on the Black community, on culture, and just the overall cultural impact of him. We moved it to next Sunday. So there's going to be a flyer that's going to be coming out. And so stay close. If you're not on my mailing list, make sure you get on there. Text Do For Self. Let me put that in here. I should have put it on the scroll. 855-574-9099. That's to join my mailing list. You'll get an alert when we go live with that. You don't want to miss that series. The first series is going to be an online series, but we're going to be doing some series at various locations. So we're moving it to next Sunday, just an FYI. And so stay close. You'll hear about that. And we are having a special Savior's Day sale on the Sajdah House page. So just go to sajdahhouse.com. You see it scrolling across the bottom. Use the discount code SD24 and get 24% off on all products. If you're on my mailing list, you got an email or a text with the link to all the different products. We got caps. Of course, we got the commemorative Elijah coin. We got sweatshirts. We got jackets. We got, what else? Thermoses, cups, things like that. So yeah, Brother Lamont said he's ordering his hoodie this week. It's hoodie weather, so get your hoodie. All right, let's dig into these proper handling of people. Let me see what we got in the chat. Let me calm down off of this this thing. Okay, we already shouted out Brother Lamont. I see you, Brother James Camouflage. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Sandra. We shouted her out. We got Sister Aletha in here. Okay, I see y'all 50 something of y'all. Y'all just gonna stay hidden. But okay, we're gonna get started. Chapter 8. Let me give you the subheadings first before we dig into this. We're going to talk about points of being friendly. We're going to talk about a guide for handling conflicts. We're going to talk about painless disciplining. And we're going to talk about when you discipline. I talked about that a little bit. And I talked about right now with what's happening in Flint, there needs to be public discipline. Like somebody needed to have been charged. I don't know how many people lost their job, if anything, but people died. You're poisoning people. So this lost art of proper handling of people begins at a granular level. It begins at that very mustard seed level of how you and I treat one another when we get in authority. When we own a business, when somebody appoints us to chairman or president or whatever post we think is important to us. How do we handle people? I'm talking about down to the mustard seed level. Because if you disregard people at the mustard seed level, and there's a bunch of us who have a complete disregard for human life, this kind of thing is what you end up with. This is the kind of thing that you end up with, and worse. Okay, so let's talk about points of being friendly. A lot of us, excuse me, when we go into business, we think that we can't be friendly anymore. We want to be hardcore. We feel like somebody's always asking us for something. A lot of that type of behavior that you and I display when we get in business or we become an authority figure is part of our trauma. We need to go heal. Because if people asking you for stuff or constantly reaching out to you causes you to have some kind of trauma response, then you need to go heal. Maybe you need to be getting counseling and therapy and life repair or whatever you got to do while you're owning your business. Because being friendly is oftentimes an olive branch, especially of our small business communities. A lot of us are so out of it, right? When it comes to the science of business, you know how we look at business people? We look at the Asians that are in our community that are disrespecting us. We're looking at the person that owns the liquor store who disrespects us. We're looking at the police in our community who disrespect us. So we come up out of this trauma of disrespect, and then we model our business behaviors based on that. So learn to talk yourself through certain things. I'm a big proponent, and I do this with myself. If I feel some kind of issue lingering in my head, I stop and I sit down and I said, all right, I say, okay, I talk to myself. I said, okay, Wendy, let's talk through this. And most of the time when I talk through it, there's really no reason for me to be that upset about it. It'll kind of level the emotions a little bit. So being friendly is something that is important. You don't have to be somebody's friend to be friendly. You don't have to always walk around like, I know the next person trying to come at me, they trying to get me. You can have that kind of stance within the way you set yourself up. What about your boundaries? Are you going places where you're not wanted? Are you manipulating people and getting upset because they're not responding properly to your manipulation, which is then making you defensive? And then you start using deceptive intelligence by looking for some way to blame them for your disappointment, when in fact, you wasn't all the way right in the first place. See, a lot of times we learn this and we use these kind of tactics in business. Why? Because we done seen our boss do it down to the job. So we decide, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to function. Because we don't know another business model. So what we're doing here on the Mind of an Entrepreneur show is giving you and I another business model. Now, points of being friendly. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad initially went through this and had each of the laborers in the Nation of Islam to go through the proper handling of people and to sort of use this as a training manual in the mid 60s. And so what we're doing is taking a lot of these principles and learning how to overlay them into our behavior as business people, so that we don't become tyrants and so we don't become predators. We want to be conscious entrepreneurs with the intent on making a difference. So points of being friendly. Number one, establish friendly relations with all your people. Okay. If you own a business, you should have a friendly relationship with people who work with you. And if you got too many employees and maybe you don't see everyone, you should have a leadership team that you have some basic friendship with. You can't just sit in the ivory tower and be like, I don't get with those people. Most people that have ever worked for me, especially if they were in leadership, I know something about their personal life, some way that I've either tried to support or help them personally, whether it's just being a supportive person in general and lending advice, or whether it's, giving money to help. Sometimes people need help with court cases, or just being there for somebody. We got to think about, let's rethink how we are as leaders. Number two, points of being friendly. Be completely impartial on the job or position. Okay. So you may have several leaders, several managers that work under you, and you might be able to see a little conflict brewing. Well, you have to be somewhat impartial and side with truth, but you got to listen to each person. You want to help them to correct behaviors, because most of the time, the behaviors people bring to work are impacting them in their personal life. And I know y'all like, man, I'm just trying to open a business. I'm not trying to be responsible for people. Well, guess what? If you don't want to be responsible for people and you don't want to handle people properly, don't go into business. Just go and work a job. Some people say, I can't be in business because I can't be responsible like that. Then don't. If you would have been one of the ones and took a job at the Flint Water Reclamation District and you're saying, I don't really feel like being bothered, then you shouldn't have had that job. You have to be partial to the truth and impartial to the job or position, and be in a position where you can help people with human development, so that as a result of working with you, their lives across the board can be improved. Because like I said, that behavior that they're bringing to work is a behavior that they have, that they're using probably in their entire personal life. Number 3, make your position clear to your friend. I like this one because oftentimes we pick, or we have somebody we click with, right? Somebody that's the teacher's pet, somebody that's that manager that we're really cool with, and we hang out after work, but they're also in my organization. It's good to have people like that because they help you get the intel of what's going on. But if they're wrong, they're wrong. And you got to make your position clear to them. Make it very clear. So even though that person might be cool with you, make sure your other employees understand that you're not going to side with that person just because they're your friend, even if you know that they're dead wrong. That type of insecurity in your workspace impacts people's nerves and ultimately their performance. And number 4, don't try to cover up your relationship with somebody. People are smart. So if you are working with somebody and that's your good friend, that's your homegirl, your homeboy, or your husband, or what, don't try to cover it up. Say what it is. It is what it is, but be fair in your dealings. It's okay. People ain't stupid. If you try to lie, you're going to get busted out anyway. The next section is entitled Guide for Handling Conflicts. Y'all all right? Anybody got any questions on that stuff? Okay, don't look like it. All right, Guide for Handling Conflicts. There's 7 of those. Number 1, approach the matter calmly. If you walk up on 2 of your staff members and they heated, a lot of times people tend to take out their personal frustrations on issues in the workplace. So they may have an inordinate display of emotions as it relates to something. You hear people all the time on social media talking about somebody pulled out a gun on somebody at work. Somebody went back up there and shot them. Sometimes that's just inordinate emotion. You got bullies on the job, and people are triggered by that bullying because a bully usually knows who they can bully. And if you're a person who hasn't healed from having been bullied as a child, then more than likely when you go to work, you're going to be victim. You're going to fall victim to other bullies. And when you fall victim to those bullies, how are you responding? A lot of times people respond with a lot of emotion. Well, you as the leader and as the manager, you got to approach it calmly. You got to bring them in here and say, let's sit down, let's dial it back. And have a conversation, and don't be afraid to call out the bully. See, what happens to a lot of us in our businesses, obviously we're worried about the bottom line. And sometimes we're afraid to correct people personally. But I wouldn't hesitate if I were you. Because if that person is a good person and they really want to heal, and you're working on creating an environment where people are safe to heal, if they don't want to heal and they don't want to hear it, then they probably are not going to be a good long-term employee. So create that environment where it's okay to heal, where it's okay to learn, where it's okay to be safe emotionally. And when you approach things, approach the matter calmly. Number 2, like we said earlier, be strictly impartial. So if you got to go and take some conflict management classes and conflict resolution and learn how to deal with a bully, mind you, you got to work on your healing yourself. Because, for example, you can't be a bully and then try to go in and call yourself conflict management resolution person. Okay. So I was just dealing with this in the preservation community. I was talking to somebody yesterday, a real estate person, and I said, the preservation work Yes, there's the real estate that we're dealing with, but there's a lot of conflict resolution skills that you have to have in order to be a preservationist. And I thought about it in context to this. We were dealing with on the phone somebody who's a bully in the preservation world. And that bully then came to the table and said they wanted to help the community, and or it actually was a developer and a preservationist that had gotten into it. And I said right out, I said, how can the bully help? The bully can't help. The bully can't manage this conflict because it's their bullying that has produced it. So now everybody's on edge. Everybody's got their guard up because the bully in the middle is playing both sides. So I said, so much of this work is being a conflict resolutionist person. And so I approached the matter calmly. I spoke with the developer, listened to their needs and their concerns and what they've been through. I talked to the owner and the preservationist and what their needs are and what they've been through. And then we found a way, in some cases with things that were blatantly wrong, to just say, listen, we're not doing that anymore. And then in other cases, we negotiated. And I learned from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when you negotiate, both sides win something. That's what negotiation is. Negotiation is, let me come and hit you over the head and get what I want. Negotiation isn't, I'm going to get all of what I want and you get nothing. Or you're going to get all of what you want and I get nothing. No. So I followed this guideline. Number 3, get to the bottom of the conflict. So I got to the bottom of it, and that's how I was able to unearth the bully in the middle. The person playing both sides. And we had some individual meetings, but we also had to have group meetings so that that bully in the middle could be busted out and everybody could kind of put the sticks down and realize that we all got the same goal here. Number 4, make the individuals recognize their motivations. I did that. Okay. I don't know what your motivation is. I don't know who hurt you before, and you're bringing this hurt to this relationship. You say that you want to be able to preserve this history that is important for our underserved communities, but you're bringing all this pain and all this trauma and bullying both the developer and the preservationist. You're in the middle. Your motivation is wrong. It's your ego that wants to be special. But the focus should be on preserving this property. And that's how I approached it. Number 5 says, show why antagonism doesn't belong among Muslims. And I'm going to say, show why antagonism doesn't belong among leaders and in your organization. You cannot be antagonistic. Part of that bullying comes from people being antagonistic. Part of that abuse sometimes in the workplace comes from an antagonistic boss. This is the kind of thing you got to root out. If you catch that among your managers, among certain employees, you got to snuff that out and just extinguish that right away. You got to work to bring about friendship in the relationship, because this is a circumstantial relationship. It's like y'all being in the same cell together. Y'all got to figure out how to get along. Y'all working at the same thing. Y'all work behind the same counter every day. Y'all working on the same project every day. You in the same office every day. It's a circumstantial relationship. So under the circumstances, y'all got to have a relationship. And in having this relationship, these are going to be the guidelines of that relationship. And that's what we're talking about here, proper handling of people. And then the last step on the guide to handling conflicts is to follow up. Don't just have the one conversation and not follow up. You should be meeting with your employees on a regular basis. They should be reporting to you anything pertinently positive or pertinently negative that happened through the course of the business, whether it be interpersonal or with a customer. But you should know what these issues are. And always allow your employees an open door to tell you what's going on. I always tell my staff, look, if my neck is in a noose, I'd rather have my hand on it. So if you ask me, would I rather know the information or not know? I want to know everything, if it's good, bad, or ugly, because that information is what I'm going to use in my strategy to make it better, or to win, or to be a better service to the community. Okay, the next section is called painless discipline. And it talks about what you do before you discipline somebody, okay? And in this case, it says give them ample and definite warning. Now, sometimes you got to check somebody on the spot. So when you check them on the spot, you may have to end up doing this behind the scenes or behind the discipline. But you want to make sure that they understand why and what the reason is. Make sure before you discipline somebody that it's their fault. I've been in environments where we got cussed out for something somebody else did. And it was, and in that particular case, we were supposed to be a team, and we should have known that that person had messed up. But because we were not communicating, that person messed up, ruined something, and it all kind of flowed downhill, and we didn't get to the goal. But really, had we been properly communicating as a team, we would have known that this other person dropped the ball. See, a lot of times we're so busy focused on our relationship with the boss, right? And we do it oftentimes, it's usually self-serving, and we do it so that we can say, look, I don't know, I turned in all my stuff, I did my part, I be talking to you on a regular basis, I don't know what she doing. But when in fact, you got some other people on your team, and you really, really want to save your own backside by talking and constantly talking to the boss, thinking that you're doing something, you should be real clear on what's happening among the rest of the staff and among the rank and file in the organization. You should be clear on that, because here's what'll happen. And this used to happen all the time. I would have one manager that's just talking. He or she is just constantly talking, always stopping by the office, always got something to say, being cool. Hey, you ready to eat? You want to do this? Just always, interpersonal, friendly. But it has a motive, because now here on the other side, there's other employees and they're meeting amongst each other. And usually you'll have one leader that'll rise up and come and tell you stuff. And they're telling me stuff about this person who's being extra friendly towards me. And when they, as the manager, should know what's going on. But see, they're bullying people and telling them, well, you don't get to talk to her. I'm the only one that can talk to her. All kind of stuff like that. And so really what you're doing is, and I decided I didn't want that person as a manager anymore. Because if you don't have your finger on the pulse of what's going on, and it's not important enough to you, then you don't need to be here. And then I tell you, I discipline you about something, and you go and discipline the wrong people because you don't even know what's going on. So when you discipline beforehand, make sure you're very clear. You've done your research or investigation on who is truly at fault. Okay. You have to make sure you understand that no one is irreplaceable. Okay. Your employees, they may be valuable, but God will always send you somebody. That person may be so valuable that one person might do 5 or 6 jobs, but God will send you 5 more, 2 more, somebody else. If you approach this and you keep in a good spiritual space, you don't have to keep somebody who's not doing things properly. You're costing yourself more money by keeping a bad apple in the bunch than if you just got rid of that bad apple, even if they got a big amount of responsibilities, because they're going to create a cancer and destroy your entire organization. Okay, let me get moving here because I'm talking, and what time is it? Okay. All right. Consider compensating factors. So you always want to play chess and not checkers, right? So you want to think about, when I get rid of this person, who's going to cover down on these particular things that they're doing? What's the impact of the mistake that they've made? And so while I discipline this person, what other things do I need to correct as a result of the mistake that they made? If I let this person go, how do I represent that to my other staff members, and what's the communication strategy? So you always want to consider the downstream effect. Okay. And then you decide who else must be involved and who else must be told. All right. And the last section, when you get to the discipline part. So that's before you've done all these things to prepare yourself and get ready to discipline that person. And this time frame can be months. It could be a day. It could be an hour. It just depends on how severe it is. When you discipline, number one, get your feelings under control. This is why it's important for us as entrepreneurs and leaders to heal. We have to heal ourselves. We have to learn how to recognize our emotions. Like I told you, I learned how to sit back and talk to myself. I'm okay if I know I need to talk to somebody. If I know I need to work out something, write something out, I'm just not going to sit here and regurgitate my own stuff, right? I'm not going to vomit negativity on myself and then eat it back up and just let it just keep flowing around. I'm going to talk it through. How do I change my vibration on this? How do I change how I see this? And so I'm having those conversations. And if you've ever been friends with me, you know that's what I do. I'm asking questions. I'm digging. I'm going, okay, let me find the right way to deal with it. And if I find that I need to see it in a certain way and it ain't all that positive, I've done enough research where I'm clear on that and I'm okay with it. It's settled in my soul. Number two, select the right time and place. We talked about that last week. There are times when you have to discipline in private. There are times when you got to say something publicly. So you have to have the right discernment. And again, your discernment is all set on whether or not you are healing and doing the work on yourself. Number three, make your decision final at the outset. So be very clear. Don't go in front of the group unless and waver unless you're going in front of the group, and going in front of the group means you're still collecting intel. All right. Back it up with facts. So have your facts, have your receipts, have your evidence. Allow the person to let off steam, because a lot of times people going to just get mad or get angry, or they'll cry or get emotion. Let them get through it. And if it's somebody you still value, help them to make a fresh start. Once the disciplinary process is over and you bring them back, or you guys go, you lead the meeting and you had to discipline them. Now you're about to go back out on the floor and serve your customers. Allow them to make a fresh start. Okay. Don't atone and reconcile and then constantly come back and be bringing it up in somebody's face. Or I'm going to tell you another thing that I would do is oftentimes employees may not be that sophisticated in terms of once something is disciplined, changing their impression or their image of somebody, whether it's a manager. And I would help the manager with their own internal PR so that they can find a way to change how people see them and get a fresh start. Again, if they haven't healed, they won't be able to do it. And so more than likely, they're going to repeat the behavior, and then we're going to end up with some type of permanent situation. If you can, help them to save face with others. You try to cover down with people. Even if you got to point out the wrong, try to isolate it. If you got to point it out in public, try to isolate it. So help him to save face if you can. Help him to make final arrangements. So for example, if you know you got to get rid of this person, if you notice a lot of companies have outboarding, where when they fire you, most people don't go through it because they get mad and just they come and escort you out, come to your desk and tell you to go, and you leave out with your banker's box. But there should be a follow-up phone call that talks about your insurance, that talks about anything that can be done to help you to make a better transition, to be honest with you. And that's if the person is leaving just because maybe they're not a good fit for the job. Maybe, maybe they kind of oversold themselves on their resume and they're still a good person. You still cool with them, that you're not mad at them, but they just can't work here no more. You want to safeguard the group reaction. We talked about that. You have to do it. You have to do some PR, and you have to pay attention to how your group is reacting to this mistake and how your group is reacting to the discipline. And you want to safeguard their reaction. And then the last one is you want to learn from each disciplining or firing how to prevent others. So you want to talk about, okay, what was the mistake that was made and how do we correct that? What do we do moving forward? Okay, we caught somebody stealing out the register. They've been doing it for 8 months. It got to the point where we had to call the police, had to have them arrested, or it got to the point where we just said, look, pay the money back, but you can't work here anymore. Or we're seeing where the register and the drawer is off, but we can't pinpoint whether or not somebody is stealing. What do we do in the future? What other controls do we put in place? This kind of thing I help entrepreneurs with. A lot of you all have reached out to me. You can book a session in the chat. Normally, when you book one session with me, I give you a follow-up one for free. So you want to make sure you email back to schedule that if we don't do it within your session. Oftentimes, employees will come to me and say, hey, I got this issue, and I will help them do a controls timeline. And what do I mean by that? I'm saying that in layman's terms. It's not the technical term, but as your product or service, as we're going through the process, where are the checks and balances along the way? How do you catch imperfections? How do you catch theft? How do you prevent people from stealing? How do you manage that? And so we talk about that and put that timeline together. Or you just may say, you know what, it's not theft, it's bad communication. Well, we'll talk about how do we prevent this type of communication error in the future. Do we do a communication strategy? Do we have, and what is the strategy? Is it a group strategy? Is it a personal strategy that you as a leader go through? So we talk about all of those kind of things because that kind of stuff is important. And a lot of people have said to me, they said, man, I didn't know it was all this, being in business was this complicated. It's not that it's complicated. There's just a science to it. And a lot of these things we're talking about are part of the science of doing business. And we just don't know. We just maybe never considered it. And we work in a world where it's just disregarded. You see the reckless disregard for human life we just talked about at the beginning of the show. Okay, so these things are very important. We're going to do a series. When we finish with this, I'm working on a series on the science of business. It's in tandem with a new book that I'm working on. And I'm just digging through all my old notes and just walking you through some real life technical things that you need to know about. Okay, because we have to be able to scale our business. Okay, here, and what do I mean by that? Right now, you just might be the dude online with a few customers and you're showing people how to do a few things and you move on. But how do you scale that? How do you take from serving fried chicken on Saturday nights to getting a food truck, to then taking the food truck to maybe getting 10 food trucks, or maybe not getting 10 food trucks, but opening a brick and mortar, and then maybe having more than one brick and mortar? Scaling that. How do you expand? You got one museum. How do you get more than one museum? How do you expand? How do you scale? And the way you scale is, yeah, there's systems and processes and things like that that you have to make sure that you put in place. But there's also a lot of technical things that are wrapped up in the science of business that a lot of us just don't know, because we have worked for people who just have never shown us that, and we just don't get it. We don't know how to go beyond just that corner store, or we don't know how to go beyond just that digital business that we have. How do you multiply it? We think we know, right? We watch folks in pop culture and we think we know, but in many cases, we really don't. We're always talking about, and let me give you another thing about knowing how to handle social media. A lot of people say, well, if you got a lot of followers, it's the better in some cases. Sometimes you can leverage followers into other relationships. So if you got 500,000 followers, you may be able to leverage that on another platform or in another situation, or to get advertisers or things like that. But sometimes you got 500,000 people who look at you. And so you have to ask yourself, do I want 500,000 people who look at me every day? Or do I want 5,000 people who give me $1 a day? Or maybe $1 a week? I'm using a small number. Think about that. So when I say to you guys, hey, y'all, do a Cash App. Certainly, I would love if it was 10,000, 20,000. But if you do $10, $20, $25, $100, and you get enough people doing that, that can help to pay for your platform. That can help to pay for the next phase of your business. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, you should have more than one income stream. So if you got people over here kind of helping and supporting and paying for this, it allows you to go and build and create and develop more tools and more strategies and more opportunities to serve that group of people and expand that group of people. So that's how we have to learn how to look at money, because for a lot of us, money is so emotional, and we don't think about what energy goes behind money. We don't think about, I like this person. I'm going to Cash App $25 because I want to hear this platform. This platform helps my vibration. There's platforms that I go to that just make me laugh. Like I subscribe to comedian Godfrey's platform and pay whatever it is because it makes me laugh. And so when I want to hear some laughter and I want that vibration, I like going on there and just cracking up. You know, it's kind of my kind of comedy, sort of socio-political comedy. Sometimes I just want to laugh and be silly because I just want that relief and that break. There are other platforms that I pay for, like Tony Robbins' platform. I love Tony, and I love the tools and strategies that he gives out. So I pay for a private platform. There's other, things that I'll pay for, and I understand that I'm really doing it for my own self-improvement. I'm investing in myself. I'm healing myself. Now, a lot of people always tell me, they say, Sajdah, you should create a subscription platform. And the only people that can get access to your information is through subscription. And I'm not really interested in doing that because I have a lot that I want to share with you to help you at least get to the point where you can pay for a subscription. So the Science of Getting the Science of Doing Business series is going to be a paid series. Okay. Because that's where I'm really going to dig out, and we're going to deal. We're going to deal with scenarios. We're going to deal with live scenarios. We're going to deal with cases. We're going to really dig into what we do and how we scale our business. When we open our business, if we're really truly about nation building and intergenerational wealth, then what should we be thinking about? We should be thinking about how we pass this business on to the next generation. How do we create a sustainable business? Not just money. See, because if you're raising your children at a certain level of privilege, You give a child who's not ready $1 million when you die and you're no longer there to guide them. What do you think they're going to do with the money? How many people out here are wealthy that have children? They may have 5, 6, 7, 8 children and may not have one child that's interested in doing what they're doing. Or they may just have one. They may not have one child and they may have a grandchild or a great grandchild that is born that says, you know what, I want to pick up grandma's mantle. I want to pick up grandpa or great grandpa's mantle. You may have a great niece or a great uncle. You oftentimes don't see it within that next immediate generation. So how do you make your business and your mission sustain long enough so that maybe their children will pick it up and enjoy it, or pick it up and do it and continue to serve the community? So we're going to dig into that. And I want to show you how to create these types of businesses and these type of sustainable entities so that you can go off and decide you want to go to Africa and explore, and your business can still be here working. And all you have to do is just do a Zoom call every evening to check in with everybody. So we want to talk about that and show you how to do that. Okay. I'm going to get out of here. We went a little bit over. Regional Sky Girl, walaikum salam. Thank you, ma'am, for chiming in. Safe travels. Be safe in the air. Be safe of all those crazy people flying nowadays. Sandra D says, this is the new hip hop. Help or healing and proper handling of people. It's what the world needs. I love that, Sister Sandra. That's right. The new hip hop, or an expanded version of hip hop, right? Because we don't want to get rid of the old hip hop. We're going to just add enough truth where we squeeze out the ratchetness and snuff it out. We squeeze the life out of the ratchetness. Sister Felicia says, Assalamu alaikum, family, and Sister Sajdah, our host. Okay, wa alaikum salam, sis. I see you. She said, these things go back to Thursday. Show authentic self. Yes, stand on your word and do what you say. So necessary for life. It's all about that authentic, that vibration or that frequency of authenticity, right? That's what we're doing. We're dissecting how to get yourself to that level. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you for chiming in. I'm glad you tuned in as well, Sister Crystal. I'm so honored to have so many sisters in the chat. So welcome, Sister Alita. I see you all. Okay, family. So stay close. Make sure you're on my mailing list. Make sure you go out, do a Cash App. If it's $10, $20, $25, certainly we would love for it to be 100, 1,000, or 10,000. But don't think that just because you may just have 10 or 20, because if enough of you, for example, this platform cost us money. But if enough of you say, you know what, I love this platform. I appreciate the fact that she ain't charging us $19.99 or $199.99. You got these people out here that call themselves counseling and coaching and consulting you, but they make their money off of you. And so their advice comes from how well you buy up all their stuff. Well, I bring to you from experiences that have already been bought and paid for. Okay. And so support the platform, help us pay for the platform. And this kind of regular support will help us so that when we do the Science of Business series, we don't have to charge. One of the things that we don't have to charge as much, right? One of the things I'm also working on doing is setting it up so when we have these kind of talks on a grander scale, utilizing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, we can say we pay for the infrastructure. We're getting into a pattern of paying for our own freedom and our own salvation. And then when we bring in these guests, I'd love to be able to bring in some people like John Hope Bryan and Robert Smith and some other top females in I was going to say in entertainment. That's so program, right? In the industry, in the business world. So we can have these conversations. Okay. I want to be able to ask Sister Alita to come on over and talk about financial planning and financial advising without saying, I got to charge an entry fee. So go out there, make sure that you support, and you see the donations going across the bottom for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. And I'll see you all next week, inshallah. Inshallah, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday next week. And I'll work on doing more lives. Y'all been on my case, like, why don't you go live more? So if you see me live, then jump on there and pay attention. I usually go live on IG. I'm going to start trying TikTok, but TikTok is, I have some friends who do really well on TikTok, but I don't have a big enough following on TikTok yet. So more than likely, I'll be going live on IG. All right. So stay tuned, family. Love you all. Happy Saturday. And take care of somebody today. Love on somebody today. All right. Peace and blessings, family. I see you. Brother Lamont said he's been seeing me on IG. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, family. And with that, don't go anywhere. Check out my commercials, and I will see you all soon, inshallah. Happy Saturday.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.